All right, so yeah, Aida, you can go ahead and just call the meeting to order. And you would ask me to do a roll call for those present today.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. First to order. If you can please call the roll for us, Sebastian.
Is anybody else having trouble listening to Aida?
Yeah, she's her frame is freezing up too.
Okay. Well, I think she said do the roll call. So while the internet gets a little better, I'll go ahead and start off with that. So let's go ahead and get started. Peter Anderson.
Anderson here.
Gary Johns.
Present.
David Harris.
Present.
Tara Hammond.
Present.
Jen Dirks. I see you, Jen. Tony Sclafani.
Present.
Thank you. Larry Emerson.
Here.
Perfect. Secretary Webb.
Here.
And Vice Chair Castañeda.
Here. Can you guys hear me a little better now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I just up to you if you keep experiencing issues. I know for me, when I turn off my camera, it gets a little bit better. But with that, we have let's see here, just want to make sure. We have a quorum, Vice Chair.
Alrighty. Do we have any public comments for non-agenda public item?
For this section, I wanted to take the opportunity for one of our newest team members to introduce herself. You'll be seeing her face often. So Jen, why don't you go ahead and kick it off? You have 3 minutes.
Sure thing. Thank you, everybody, for having me here today. I couldn't be more excited to be joining San Diego Community Power. So I'm our new Director of Public Affairs, and today marks day 4. I couldn't be more excited to be here. As a native San Diegan, I've spent my career trying to help make my community a better place. And before joining SDCP, I worked for a journalist for nearly a decade at publications such as the San Diego Union Tribune and the Arizona Republic, where I covered local governments. My goal as a reporter was to tell the truth, help educate residents about what's going on in their communities, and hold officials accountable for that action. I then made the shift into public service because I was ready to stop writing stories about other people making a difference and trying to help my community firsthand. So I came back to San Diego after my stint in Arizona, and I worked as the Port of San Diego's digital media specialist briefly before joining former San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer's office as a press secretary in 2014. I had the honor of serving in a variety of roles after that, including his Director of Digital Strategy and Director of Public Safety and Neighborhood Services Policy. When Mayor Faulconer termed out, I joined Mayor Todd Gloria's office when he first came into office as his Director of Communications. As the administration got off the ground, I left and started my own public affairs and consulting firm, which I've recently just started, which I've recently shut down. And now I'm here at San Diego Community Power. I cannot wait to have an opportunity to get to know all of you a little bit more and to be able to learn and hear from you about the needs of your communities. I also can't wait to support you in your efforts about how you're going to help make this organization stronger and create all kinds of good work that's going to come out of both this group and San Diego Community Power as a whole. We're going to serve our community in an incredible way, and the team here has just been so welcoming and awesome that I am more than ready and excited to be able to help push things forward. So with that, I think that gives me a little bit of time. I don't know if questions are allowed, but either way, thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you.
Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome, Jen. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jen, because your introduction happened during public comments. There is no back and forth on questions, but there will be plenty. And of course, everybody will be seeing Jen's email in our communications soon enough if you haven't already. So thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Castañeda, I do want to confirm there are no written public comments or no hands raised for this portion of the agenda.
Very well. Okay, does that mean that we move to item number 4?
Yep.
Items to be withdrawn or reported on the agenda. There is none. Okay, I guess we move on to item number 5. To receive updates on the SDCP mission, vision, and core values and goals for 2013 through 2027. My goodness. I believe we have.
That's me.
Okay, go ahead, Karen. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Please go to the next slide. Okay, even the next slide. Great, great. So as many of you were involved and a few are new, we spent a good chunk of June and July working through our strategic plan for the next 3 to 5 years. And in doing that, it was quite an effort with both staff and the board and the CAC. I would say roughly close to a dozen or so meetings, both in large groups and then in small breakout groups, and then coming together as a staff to come up with our mission, our vision, our values, and also our sort of goals for the next year. So we did this and we presented out to the board in July, but we wanted to share out with you also what we came up with as a group. And I know many of you again were involved, and then just make sure everybody knows what our plan is and where we're going. So our mission statement that we landed on is that we are a community-owned organization providing affordable clean energy, right? Our goal is still to get to 100% clean energy by 2035 or sooner, but to do so in a way that invests back in our community to create an equitable and sustainable future for San Diego. Next slide, please. We also had a lot of conversation about our vision, what we see, what we envision for ourselves, and in that, this notion of being a global leader, inspiring innovative solutions to climate change, right? By both powering our community, showing that we can do it as a large entity, the second largest CCA today, potentially with additional growth, even getting close to being the largest CCA in the country, and really showing up on that national stage. But at the same time, focusing not just on the energy component, but on the equity component, on prioritizing equity, sustainability, and high quality jobs. So we see our mission as very importantly a dual mission, one on the clean energy piece and second on the communities piece. Next slide, please. And this slide talks to our core values, and we call these the gist of SDCP. And I walk through actually this entire presentation with every new employee that joins our team to make sure they understand who we are, what our North Star is, and our values, and then how we live those values on a daily basis. This particular set of values, we came together as a team. The board and the CAC had some initial impact, and then our team got together because this is really our team living these values. And we ordered them, we prioritized them as a team, and then we also really sort of brought them into clear focus. And so that's what you see here. We're focusing on justice, equity, and diversity and inclusion, which is JEDI. We're prioritizing inclusivity. We are intentional about our inclusion and collaboration, and we are looking at our diverse communities through an equity lens. And we see this both as we are out in the world, but also in thinking about internally, the thoughtfulness and purpose around who we hire, how we hire, and ensuring that inclusion piece. The second priority in our core values with impact, making sure that we're having that impact, that we're getting us to 100% renewable energy, and that we're really obsessive about it. And so this speaks to the environmental component of what we do and making sure, like today, our power content label is 55%. By 2035 or sooner, and at the mayor's office, it's 2030, we want to be at 100%. And so we're really committed to making that impact and demonstrating that. With integrity, we're encouraging mutual transparency and respect. And we are reporting to the folks, the people that we serve with customers and communities as a cornerstone of who we are. Really different from a traditional investor-owned IOU, where it's shareholders that we're serving, that they're serving. In our world, we're serving our shareholders, which are our communities and our constituencies and our customers. On the innovation side, we want to be proactive in our approach to innovation. We're recognizing that CCAs are fairly new. This hasn't really been done before, and we want to create an organization that's fueled on innovation and sustainable solutions. With servant leadership, we want to demonstrate leadership and sustainability by constantly pursuing that innovative approach, but also doing it together. Again, we are here to make a positive difference, both in our communities through impacts and programs, and to our environment through our energy choices. So we're stewards of the environment, of our communities, and of each other. And we really strive for excellence in all that we do, but we approach it as one of serving others. And then lastly, the togetherness value is about our team and our internal team and all of you and our board. So bringing those three legs of the stool together, empowering, respecting, and valuing everything that each of us brings to the table, valuing our customers, being approachable to them, being responsive to them, and really ensuring community empowerment. So we're together in our mission to serve our communities and to provide clean energy. Next slide, please. All right. So this is just sort of a bit of how that will play out, how we're thinking about SDCP as we move out of startup mode into what I'm calling scaling mode. This is where we're building our foundation. We're building not only our internal processes and our processes and how we're going to work together, but also how we're going to grow out into the world. So relating with our core values and our mission. Just yesterday, I was speaking in front of a group at the Scripps Institute for Oceanography. And the first thing I said was, we are a values-led, mission-driven organization. Everybody that knows about us needs to know that first and foremost. We're building a cohesive executive team. We're adding to that now. You've seen with Jen coming in as our public affairs director, which was a unanimous, very positive. Everyone was super excited to bring Jen on board, and she's super excited to be here. It was a great fit. We just launched for an HR director or a director of people. So that job was just posted. So we're building that executive team, creating that cohesion so that we can all row in the same direction and move forward. We want to be accountable. That's part of our value set, being transparent and accountable to ourselves and also to our board and our communities. We're in the process of establishing those fair and consistent policies, especially around HR, hiring, reviews, a lot of those things, so that we know what to expect and we have certain expectations. Let's see, we're also, we're acting as one team. We don't always agree, but when we do disagree, we welcome that disagreement in a productive way, in a way that resolves the conflict and gets to a better outcome. And then we ask our team to support the decision once it's made. Voice your concern, have that dialogue, then let's move together in one direction. We're also very action-oriented and biased towards results. We want to do what we say we're going to do. We want to focus on outcomes. And lastly, we really want to obsess about making a positive impact on the planet and in our communities, right? That's why we're all here. We all are driven by this passion for what we do, by helping our communities and helping the environment, being leaders in this space and taking San Diego to another level in this regard. And we're all passionate about that. We wake up every day super excited to continue and lead that mission. Next slide, please. Now just a couple of things about what we've been up to and how that's playing out. There are many more slides than the ones I'm showing today, but just a few, just to give you a sense of what we do. So one of the things we've been doing is building these fantastic partnerships with different community organizations. So in this case, we have a lot of athletic partnerships with the Padres, which is our baseball team, with the San Diego Loyal, which is the men's soccer team, and with the SD Wave, which is the women's soccer team. In fact, next week, I'm going with Mayor Alejandra to an SD Wave event. We were at an SD Loyal event. Next slide, please. Just a couple of weeks ago, and we do a lot of hosting and we have a lot of involvement with the Padres, as you know. So we're starting to do that, take these other partnerships to that same level. So we're looking at hosting an event with SD Wave at the end of September. And again, really starting to reach out to those partners that we're sponsoring and really engage with them to bring awareness to the community in a really positive way. And we're seeing those results. Next slide, please. Another thing we like to do is we're doing a lot of tabling, and we're getting out and about in the community. These are all volunteer. A lot of these are volunteer activities, folks that different members of our team volunteer and spend time doing. So these particular photos are from the Southeast San Diego Science and Art Expo, which is an inclusive science, art, and culture event. About 800 to 1,000 people came here. And we also tabled at several libraries in unincorporated San Diego. Next slide, please. We've been doing a lot of speaking engagements. I just pinch hit it as a moderator for one yesterday at the Scripps Institute of Oceanography, where one of our Power 100 champions, the San Diego Airport, was on the panel. Also the Port of San Diego, so I opened a relationship with them. So we're doing that. So when I'm volunteering tomorrow, I'm at the Fully Charged Live EV event, speaking on a panel there. And then next Saturday, I'm speaking at the Green Summit and doing an interview. So the one tomorrow will go to 2 million. It will be, what's what I'm looking for? It will be showcased for about 2 million of the folks that watch the Charge EV Live. They're part of that group. So that'll be a big opportunity for us to showcase what SDCP is doing and how we're greening the electric grid for those EVs coming online. And so we're doing a lot of speaking engagements out and about to, again, not only introduce and build the connection with communities, but also with the industries. Next slide, please. One of the early partnerships that we put together was with Ohm Connect. CEA, or Community Energy Alliance, has the same partnership as well. It's really, for us, was a marketing partnership. So we had to send out 770,000 flyers for our Power Content label. And in that label, we also slipped in a little bit about our Ohm Connect partnership. And this actually turned out to be really fortuitous, because with the latest heat wave, folks, had they signed up over the last few weeks, they would have been able to participate in demand response events and earn some additional income. So this is one of those partnership-like programs. It was outside of our CPP because, again, it didn't require capital investment, and because it was really for everybody. And it's something we could do right away, given our resources and given our time. And so we do look for those types of partnerships. We also had some on our impact and our innovation value. We had East Bay Community Energy come down and talk to us and give about 4 workshops. One that was really interesting was around local resource development and how they're doing that, citing sources on municipal lands and facilities, and how to do it in such a way that the price is consistent with the price in the market. So there's often this view that you have to spend a lot more to get your DERs. Well, they've come up with they have a model where that the pricing is much more similar to utility scale pricing. And so it's an enabler. So something we were just looking at as we move forward. We were also looking at some of their transportation electrification work, what they're doing. They have a really innovative model around the charging infrastructure. And then they have a very well known as the group that has the best data analytics team that they've built in-house. And so we had another workshop focused on that. And then afterward, for some team bonding, next slide, please. We hosted them at a San Diego, the Padres game. So we brought them out, we shared with them our partnership, and we were just up in the back somewhere. We just had a bunch of tickets up in the back, but it was great. We were able to kind of gather, and it was a lot of fun. So again, building collaboration and building togetherness, not just with our teammates in-house, but also with other CCAs. So we're hoping to do this, if not on a quarterly basis, perhaps semi-annually with other CCAs. MCE has a really great programs team. PCE is doing some really interesting things. And so just working up in the north, I think it's Redwood Coast, they've got some microgrid activity going on. So just finding what interests us, innovative things CCAs are doing, and then helping our team learn about that. Next slide, please. And then lastly, on this out and about, we've established a series of innovative lunch and learns, where we had one recently with Nuvve, where they were talking about their vehicle to grid or V2G technology. They have a partnership. Right now it's a test, I think it's a pilot with SDG&E around school buses. So this is something that might be very interesting for us and some of our member agencies, where these school buses have been electrified. And when they're not in use, which is most of the time, they can actually be harnessed as a source of energy back into the grid. Their batteries can discharge. So there's several challenges around that, but just interesting to know that, hey, this is going on. There is such a thing as this V2G innovation for light and heavy, light duty vehicles, and that it could be a source of grid services in the future. We had San Diego, Clean Tech San Diego come and speak to us last week, and I believe next week we have Grid Alternatives coming. So it's open for anyone to come and just share some of the things that they're doing. It's a way for us to learn. It's a way for us to see the innovation going on in the marketplace, as well as to build relationships with our local organizations. Next slide, please. All right, so turning back to our strategic plan, we had a series of roughly 7 core areas and key focus areas, followed by some organizational goals. And this was, again, a process where we went out and got the original set of goals during a board offsite. Then we brought them back into the team. There we worked on them together in our small groups, and then we came together as a team all in-house. Then it went back to the board and the CAC to look them over. And then we had a final share out, and these were adopted in, I want to say, I think it was the July board meeting. All right, so we've got the financial state. Okay. So the first set of goals is around financial stability, right? We want to promote long-term organizational fiscal sustainability. That's very important. It's not about a profit motive, it's about a sustainability motive, right? It's about making sure that we have enough cash cushion to weather the storms, literally and figuratively, that have come and will come, as well as to make sure that we're following fiscal proper risk management practices, et cetera. So in our next slide, please. In our list of goals, we have this notion of making sure we have enough financial controls and policies in place, that we have the right ones. We've been looking at all the CCAs. What do they do? How do they manage risk? What do we need to do if we're not doing it already? We have a goal to obtain an investment grade credit rating by November 2025. That's important for a couple of reasons. On the power buying side, it enables anyone building new renewable energy infrastructure. If we have a credit rating, they get a lower debt. It's considered lower risk, so they get a lower interest rate. So it keeps the PPA price down. So that's positive for us. And on the other side, it allows us to do things like issue bonds and use other financial instruments that we don't otherwise have. So part of that is to make sure we have enough reserves. So reserves are one of the benchmarks that they use to look at that. And so we're looking to increase our reserves to 175 million by 2023 and 360 million by 2025. And in the future, once we establish that, if we can develop a rate stabilization reserves to help mitigate some of these power cost fluctuations, that's also helpful. Next slide, please. All right. Some water nearby. All right, energy portfolio development. So our next area is in our energy portfolio. Here we want to be providing clean electricity to our customers, and we know this is by 2035 or sooner. Let's look at some of the goals. Next slide, please. In this group. All right, so here we're obviously managing the portfolio for risk, for cost, for liability, making sure we're hedging sufficiently, making sure we have the right staffing, right? We just grew our power team. We just doubled its size from 2 to 4. And now we're looking at growing again by another 2 people. It is a large amount of work, and we need effectively a team of 8 is sort of the minimum we should have. And so that's what we're building towards. We need to, again, we're going to get to that 100% by 2035. Our program here shows we're at 55% in 2022. We're hoping to be at 75% by 2027, and then going up till we hit 100%. We have 2 key goals that I think about is one, 15% or roughly 250 megawatts of our energy will come from that distributed infill, that solar storage, that commercial DERs, rooftop solar from within our member agencies, and also a utility scale new purchases of up to 600 megawatts within San Diego and Imperial counties. Also want to support the development of new energy sources and create high quality jobs. Let's see, have you gone on to the next slide? Yes, community program development. Okay, let's go on to the next slide, please. Okay, so in this category, we're really focused on developing the first bullet, which is we're in the middle of developing our CPP, or our community power plan. I know all of you have been involved in this and have been interviewed or will be interviewed and are helping us to do our outreach, and we really appreciate that. It's really important that this community power plan have deep and thoughtful and purposeful community engagement, so that while we're considering our needs and the needs of the grid, we're also considering and including the needs of our communities. So that's what this program does. It's been a 6 to 9 month process. We anticipate a little wrap up in the beginning of next year, I think is still on track. And we also want to ensure that we're investing in programs that target our communities of concern, and that those are distributed throughout member agencies. Also, as part of this is the goal to invest in programs that promote residential and commercial solar. Next slide, please. This section has 2 slides. We also want to be developing workforce opportunities, supporting our local governments to make sure that the work we're doing is tying nicely to their climate action plans. And we're educating customers about clean energy. And we're making sure we're using data to analyze and manage and measure our program design, implementation, and evaluation. Okay. Next slide, please. All right. So our marketing team, which also has doubled in size. We had Lee and Rachel on our team, and now we have Lee, Rachel, Jen, and Victoria. So we're excited to be building out our team. We have 1 more hire we're anticipating for this year. So we have a few goals here. Next slide, please. We want to really understand how the community is perceiving us and compare that to what is our desired brand identity, and then build a strategic action plan as to how we get from A to B. We want to make sure that the policy issues that are happening are being translated into information that consumers and regular customers can understand. We want to be known as a leader and an expert in our space. We want to make sure we're forging those relationships with our CBOs, with our NGOs, with the trade associations, and with city planning offices, right? We all need to work together to get this done. We want to be developing relationships with media, with influencers. We should be proactive with them, not reactive. And then, of course, always engaging with the community, getting out and about, letting them see us, being available, being open for questions, and participating and sponsoring local events. We've been sponsoring a lot of events to help, obviously helps the community when we do that, and also helps us to get our name out excuse me, on the legend reg side, here we want to be advocating for our public policies. We are constantly sort of like being shelled on a constant basis in the legislative arena, where we always have to be very alert and on high alert for what's coming down from the legend reg path to make sure that we're aware of what's happening. We're either supporting or opposing, and our voice is being heard, and that we're also engaging strongly with the CalCCA. The CalCCA is our industry's body that basically helps to advocate for our needs in Sacramento and beyond. And so right now, again, we've been growing our team. We want to take a more proactive approach, and we're doing just that. We also are planning for a lobby day up in Sacramento. Several of us are going up there at the end of this month to start to have conversations, introduce SDCP, make sure they understand who we are and what we're about, so that when they're making policy, they have a better understanding of what CCAs are, how they function, and why they're necessary. And at some point in the future, we might like to sponsor and support legislation. But right now, we're really about being active, being proactive, being very engaged in our CalCCA efforts. They have marketing committees, legislative committees, reg committees. We've got a great set of legal folks helping us out. And yes, so our goal here is to be more proactive. Next slide, please. Customer service, of course, customers cornerstone. So we want to make sure that we're ensuring high customer retention and satisfaction. We want to do this through making sure we've got great back office support, that we're continually trying to offer competitive rates as affordable as they can be for them, but at the same time, they've got to work with us. So that's a balance that we constantly have on the rate structure and on the cost. We want to make sure we're being there for our customers. They're hearing from us. They're not struggling to reach us. We have a 7% of our customers are currently at Power 100 service levels. We'd love to get that to 10% by 2027. That will involve some campaigns, some reach outs, all of that. And then we really need to have a robust data ecosystem, right? You can't manage what you can't measure. And so we really want to start getting better access to data so that that will inform our procurement, our program design, and how we manage and evaluate our programs too. Okay. The next set is really about our internal structure. Next slide, please. And this is stuff that we're in process and working on every day. We've made progress here even since when we started to put this together. We've been building that organizational culture focused on our our core values, the gist of SDCP, really all of those values. We've developed our annual staffing plan. We've identified our resource needs and gaps. We are starting to provide those professional training and development opportunities. We've been bringing innovation into the organization so folks can see it and learn about it. We are building the institutional capacity. Right now, we're focused on board. As you all know, we have a majority turn of the board in January, and their very first board meeting, they'll be rate setting. So we are actively involved with a consultant and with the board, a couple of key board members putting together what that board orientation will look like. CAC members who are new or even existing and just want to be part of it. It is a public meeting. You are welcome to log in and join in and be part of that. And we'll be having some events after that and during that month of January to connect and build camaraderie with our board, our CAC, our new board, our CAC, and our staff. So keep on the lookout for those items. We've got a big board orientation process that we're building now. Much of that will be very relevant for the CAC. And once we get through our board turn and we've got our new members onboarded and up to speed and hitting the ground running, then we'll turn it and also start building out what we need for the CAC. So that's part of some of the institutional processes and programs that we're developing. And that is the update I have on this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. I do bills right now from the legislature that we should keep an eye out as a CAC. That are priorities right now, or is that yet to come?
Sebastian, I see you're on. Is that something you want to answer real quickly for us?
Yes, absolutely, Karen. Vice Chair, just wanted to clarify your question. You're talking about prioritizing the existing bills in the legislature?
I was just curious to know if we had any current bills in the legislature that we're actively looking at right now that we should be privy to.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So back in March, our director, Laura, who's now on maternity leave, she had given a presentation to the CAC to provide input and feedback on what was then our draft legislative priorities platform. That helps staff identify bills that we should support or not support. And we are queuing that up to be an annual update process. So come early in the year, I do anticipate that coming to the CAC before it ultimately goes to the board. But right now, as you may know, the legislative session has concluded, and there are bills that are on the governor's desk for his signature. There were a few bills that we were tracking. We made note of that in our staff reports to the board, including AB 2838, SB 1020, and don't want to take up too much of the time, but those bills are ones that we were tracking. And then Vice Chair, since you are new to the CAC, once a year we provide a legislative one-on-one to the committee, just to explain how the bill process works, from origination to going through both chambers of the legislature. So happy to talk more about it. Feel free to shoot me an email. But there's plenty, and we could talk the whole length of the meeting. And I promised you guys a short meeting.
Well, I appreciate that, Sebastian. Thank you so much. I see Mr. Lawrence Emerson, his hand is up. The floor is yours.
Hello, can you see me? I just opened my
Yes.
camera. I
We can
can't see
see you.
myself, so hopefully I look decent.
You look fabulous.
Okay, I have a word, I have an interest, and I have a question for Karen. And my one word for Karen is Ricola. I started eating these after I coughed with her, so hopefully you get over your allergy or your throat conditions and soon. But my interest is, you mentioned you have regular, or you're starting to have regular presentation from outside organizations. And when you mentioned several of those, I might have been interested, and maybe some of the other members might have been interested to sit in if we had the time. And so I'm just expressing my interest. If we know in advance, is there a way we could sit in on some of those future presentations you may be organizing with certain organizations to share information? And then my question was related. In one of your slides, you talked about energy storage and infill with batteries or energy storage. And I'm interested in who would be owning those facilities. How would that work? So those are my comments, and
Right.
I'll listen for the response.
Okay, let's see. First comment. Thank you so much. I'm actually not sick, though I was quite ill for a couple of weeks. I was talking a lot at my presentation yesterday, and then at the reception, and then at a dinner afterwards. So my voice is gone. But thank
Okay.
you. On the question about listening into the meetings, yes, those are hybrid. So those are both virtual and in person. I think it's just a matter of, like, we can ask Victoria to let you all know what's coming up, and if there's an interest. They're usually during lunch hour, so from 12 to 1-ish, but sometimes they're in the afternoon. So I don't see why that you couldn't. the more the merrier, right? And then your third question was about solar and storage and who will own them. That depends, right? So if it's community solar project, it's going to be owned differently than if it's a standalone storage facility or a developer building it, or if it's on municipal land and maybe there's ownership. So we're not preferring one or the other at this point in time. We're not planning to own them. That's sort of the question you're asking, whether SDCP will own them. Probably not in the next 3 years. Beyond that, it's, we're open for strategic thinking on that. But I think initially we see our role as that enabler of, hey, we're out here, we want to buy power from these resources, and we're going to help to enable the building of them.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for the question. Oh, Tara, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and good job chairing the meeting, especially last minute. I was wondering, in terms of net metering, is there anything right now that San Diego Community Power is working on? Just because that does play a big role in 2023 and beyond.
I'm going to flip that over, Sebastian, if I may.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Tara, we are just tracking when the revised proposed decision will be released. We are hearing that that may come out after the election for obvious reasons. At the same time, we are just tracking any activity in the proceeding, whether it comes from other parties and staying abreast of that. So at this moment, it's a wait and see on the revised proposed decision.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions from the members of the committee?
Yeah, I had a related question.
Please.
Right now, with SDG&E, we can choose for not just net metering, but we can use a time of day plan or some other plan. Will there be options within San Diego Community Power as this rolls out? I'm in the county, so I'm not rolled out yet, so I don't know. To pick a plan that you prefer, and will there be cost estimates associated with it?
Thank you for that. I see Lucas is on the line. Lucas, are you able to answer that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Karen. And thanks, Peter, for the great question. So the way that our net energy metering program works, in terms of your rate structure, that essentially has to flow. You're definitely allowed to change your rate plan, but that rate plan change has to go through SDG&E, and it automatically flows to us on the back end. And so, in terms of our rate structure and rate design, those currently are created to mirror the IOU, such that there really isn't going to be any sort of out of sync between the transmission and delivery and the generation, right? I mean, if the on-peak hours are from 4 to 9 on the transmission and delivery, it should also be the exact same thing on the commodity side, such that there is that conformity and the customer is not confused as to when to essentially reduce use or generate, et cetera.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then as far as creating a bill comparison tool centered around net energy metering, that a lot of the CCAs actually don't do, simply because no one NEM customer is the same as the other, right? The installations are sized differently. Obviously, there's also the nuance around NEM 1.0 billing mechanics versus NEM 2.0. And then obviously with the uncertainty around NEM 3.0. And so usually for net energy metered customers, if they would like to get a bill comparison, we typically encourage them to send us an inquiry through our customer service mailbox, along with copies of their bills, and we can run those bill comparisons accordingly that way.
Very well. Thank you so much for that, Lucas. Any other questions from members of the committee before we move on? All righty, thank you all so much for your input. All righty, so let's move on to item number 6. And I have to receive, oh, go ahead.
Vice Chair Castañeda,
Yes.
just wanted to provide a friendly reminder to acknowledge any public comments.
Yes, thank you. Do we have any public comments from the public?
We don't have any submitted written public comments, and I do not see any hands raised.
Very well. Does that mean that we can now move on to item number 6?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, good to know. All righty. Receive update on public relations and backup office operations. The floor is yours.
Thank you, and that'll be my colleagues Rachel and Lucas.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. Next slide. So I'm just going to go over briefly a couple events that you might see us at and a couple of the marketing campaigns that we've been rolling out as we've been having the Flex Alerts. We have Flex Alerts all this week, as you probably have known, and last week as well. So we have been working with Energy Upgrade California, CAISO, helping do kind of like a co-branded campaign to inform customers of how to flex their energy use before 4 p.m. and then after 4 p.m. Yesterday was unique in that the actual flex hours between 3 and 10, but they are back today to 4 to 9. So we also have a summer readiness page on our website, which has tips for how to save on energy use, and then also how to kind of help with the energy grid during this unprecedented heat wave. Karen had also mentioned a couple of speaking engagements we're going to be at tomorrow and also next weekend. So I won't go into those. She also was at the Zero Emissions Summit, which I think was what she had mentioned yesterday, which was another great event, kind of just talking about how we can get to net zero with carbon emissions. A couple upcoming events that we're really excited about that Victoria has worked really hard on to acquire. We're going to be at the Spring Valley Swap Meet on September 11th, so this weekend. SD Wave Fan Fest will be very fun. That's going to be kind of a kickoff to the Snapdragon Stadium opening for one of our clean energy partners. National City Swap Meet on the 18th. The Food System Alliance as kind of their annual gathering to envision what the food system will look like by 2035. That's going to be on the 29th. And then especially family friendly, these all are, but particularly this one we're excited about, the Claremont Family Day, October 15th, we will also be at. We are also the title sponsor for EcoFest Encinitas. And I believe that I did not have put the date on there. I could pull that up. I believe it's also October. I don't know if anyone on this call has that, but I could pull that info up for you. No.
October 9th.
There we go. Thank you. And that was all I kind of had. Did anyone have questions about where we might be or ways to get involved? I also want to thank everyone on CAC that has given me their responses to the interview questions and Q&As. We're going to try to start rolling that out probably late September. So if anyone still has not gotten that to me, please do. And yeah, I'd be happy to take any questions before I hand it over to Lucas. I can't see.
Lauren,
I see Larry has a question.
Larry, and then
yes, I see your questions.
Hi, me again, and I guess we're going to talk on Monday afternoon.
We
for your
are.
interview.
Yes.
But definitely on September 18th, I'm in National City, so I would love to come out and participate at the swap meet when you go on the 18th. So
Okay, let me write that down. I'll let our team know. Thank you for that.
thank you.
And then Gary, I think Karen also had a question. So
Yes, I just want to say kudos to you for becoming the sponsor of EcoFest Encinitas. We Encinitans appreciate it.
thank you. Yeah, we're really excited about that. That everyone was involved in that. Lee, who you've met, Karen, the whole team. So thank you, Gary. We're very excited. I don't see anyone else had a question. Karen, you-
I did. I just wanted to pile on there and say that for EcoFest, SDG&E had been a minor sponsor, and they had reached out to us, really wanting us to be the title sponsor and to have our brand really connected strongly with EcoFest. So we were excited to be able to do that as well. So I think both Chairman Mosca and I will be speaking at that event as well, and I know my family will be there too.
All right,
Great.
that's all for me. I'm gonna hand it over to Lucas. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Karen. We were actually at the EcoFest last year, and Gary and I manned the table and answered a lot of the questions. So we're looking forward to doing it again this year. As far as the update on back office operations, happy to report on our stats. Again, this is just a point. It's a snapshot at a point in time as of earlier this week. Our participation rates are still stellar, thanks to all of you. We are, in terms of our phase 1 and 2 participation, by counts, we're at 97.4, and then for phase 3, we're at 97 even. Again, great work over there. For City of Encinitas, as is expected, we're seeing participation rates that are slightly lower. A lot of the customers there, rather than opting down, have elected to opt out entirely. Our opt-downs in Encinitas are currently at 407 customers. But again, I mean, all things considered, everything is tracking with regards to what we see in other jurisdictions, in other CCA territories. Moving over to the next slide, please. So wanted to also provide an update on the heat wave, generally speaking. As you all know, Governor Newsom called an emergency proclamation last Wednesday that allowed power plants to generate additional electricity, permit use of backup generators, reduce the amount of energy, and also allowed ships in California, of course, to reduce their consumption of electricity from the grid completely. We actually did set a record across the entire Western interconnection. The peak loads, the load actually peaked at 52,061 megawatts. That's the highest that the CAISO has ever recorded. On I think it was on Tuesday, right before 5 p.m., with the Energy Emergency Alert 3 declared by the CAISO around 5:17. It was actually the first time an Amber Alert on energy conservation was triggered in the state of California. And as a function of that, 2,000 megawatts was shed as soon as it was called, which was great. And that actually helped keep lights on across the state. Thanks to all of you for obviously sharing all of the social media posts that San Diego Community Power put out there, essentially urging fellow citizens to conserve during the on-peak hours. I think as a function of that, we've been able to keep the lights on. The graph on your right is actually taken from the CAISO, showing the trajectory of the load and what actually took place as soon as that Amber Alert was called. So great. Obviously, it was a challenging week for all of us, but again, we weathered the storm and the lights were on. So just want to take this moment to recognize all of your efforts. Thank you so much. And actually, in the spirit of keeping the meeting short, that actually concludes my presentation for today. Just wondering if there were any questions or comments from you all.
Alrighty, any questions?
I just want to say thank you, Lucas. Thanks for informing us. This is great.
My pleasure. And with that, I'll pass the baton back to Vice Chair Castaneda.
Thank you so much, Lucas, for your report. I go back to you, Sebastian, yes, to see if there's any comments from the public.
Yes, Vice Chair, we have one member in the audience who has raised their hand. I will now allow Sonia to speak. Sonia, you will have 3 minutes.
I started speaking already. Hi, Sebastian, and greetings to the community council here. I appreciate the work you all doing. So I have a quick question. I don't know if it's directly to Lucas or anyone else may have this information. Is my understanding of what just took place this past week, and for those that don't know me, I am Sonia Robinson, Program Manager at the Protect Our Communities Foundation. I've been working in the space of energy justice for several years with the main focus for climate equity. So I also was the first chair of the Environmental and Climate Justice Committee for the NAACP San Diego branch, as well as the NAACP North San Diego County branch. And I have others background, but just to kind of give you a little bit of my background. So my question is more specifically on what just took place this last week. My understanding is that the state of California does not have and has identified they do not have the amount of renewable demands that can provide the gap that is needed to stabilize the grid. And so, yes, those flex alerts was useful, but it's probably not necessarily the best way in stabilizing our grid. And so I'm just curious from a clean energy perspective, does this group or this body have any information of some of the best approaches in either wrapping up the demand that's needed and any other solutions in stabilizing our grid during hot peak moments like we just experienced?
Thank you, Sonia. I will go ahead and take your question as a comment. Lucas, do you have some insight, or I can take a stab at it?
Yeah, do you want to start or should I, Sebastian?
Yeah, I can get started. I think, you know, it's a big question that not only STCP is grappling with, but the whole of California. I think information is fairly new, and we're still wrapping our heads around just the magnitude of what's happened and our role to play in it. So I would say it's a bit premature on what kind of information we would have. We are trying to do our best at the stage that we're at as an agency to encourage our customers to reduce their energy use, especially during the flex alerts, and then looking ahead at potential pathways to further incentivize customers to do so. Ultimately, this is a role played by the independent system operator and really by San Diego Gas and Electric. So great questions, but that's my take on it. Lucas, do you want to fill in with anything?
Yeah, thanks, Sebastian. I think you've covered the gist of it. So at least at a very high level, there is the supply side in terms of the renewable energy that goes into the grid, and then those renewables have to be transmitted and delivered to the end use customer. So I think what we essentially witnessed over the last week, it's a combination of both. From STCP's perspective, the supplies to serve our load was there, obviously. But again, as Sebastian mentioned, the transmission and distribution of those supplies is handled by the CAISO, obviously, the independent system operator, and the respective IOUs that exist in the state, and SDG&E being that IOU in our region. But again, we are keeping a close eye. Obviously, we're still technically in the midst of the heat wave, even though there is rain today. The flex alert has already been called for today. And I think starting next week, once the cool down has started, we will definitely go back and take stock of what transpired, ways in which we can work with the other stakeholders that man the delivery and transmission infrastructure to ensure that we do have mitigation steps taken to ensure that come next heat wave, we're better prepared for it in terms of not only ensuring that the supplies are there, but also that those supplies can be transmitted and delivered to the end use customer.
Well, thank you so much for those responses, gentlemen. I do see that member Lawrence Emerson would like to speak. May I give him an opportunity to speak, Sebastian, even though we're in public comment?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Alrighty, go ahead.
Hi, yes. In general, we're going to be increasing renewable energy, but we want to be able to store it in different ways. And there's all kinds of new technology coming out that are being tested throughout the world. And earlier in the presentation, they talked about the school buses in El Cajon, the Valley Center School, where the buses will be putting energy back into the grid. And so that's one technology, battery technology. As electric vehicles keep growing, they're being tested where they can put the energy from the electric vehicles back into the grid during the peak time. So all of these things are evolving, and we need to innovate and advance those technologies to help with these kind of conditions. But I think it was fantastic that Amber Alert went out and people responded right away, because that's something we all have to do. We all have to be involved. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Member Emerson. Okay, I think that closed out the public comment portion. Go ahead and move on to item number 7 to receive updates on the community power plan. I believe Nelson.
Yes. Good afternoon, committee members. Thank you, Vice Chair Castañeda. If we go to the next slide, this is a standing item that you all are familiar with, just an update on the community power plan. The big update for today is that our community needs survey is now live. So I think you all should have received an email from me earlier in the week with access to a media kit that you can use to help promote the survey. So we really need your help making sure that everyone in your community is represented. It's an opportunity to take the survey as well. The survey is available in 3 languages. So it's in English, in Spanish, and in Filipino. And it's open until October 15th of this year. So it's open for quite a bit. We launched it mid last week. And so it's been so far pretty good. We've had over 1,700 responses to date, but to me, that's not enough. I want to get more. And so I would love your help in helping to promote this. So inside the media kit, you'll find the ability to reshare our social posts. So we have a number of organic social media posts live. They're gain access to those, so you can reshare those. But if you want to make your own, you also have the opportunity to do that inside the media kit as well. And if your organization has a newsletter, or you know an organization that would be willing to put a little blurb about it in their newsletter or send out a little email blast, there's sample language in the media kit as well. So take a look at that. Feel free to share the survey with everyone in your network. Please share it wide. Next slide. So in addition to asking you all to help us promote the survey, we have done quite a bit in terms of the promotional activity to get the word out about the survey. So we sent out what we call a power content label mailer. And this mailer went out to over 609,000 people. So everyone that has an active account with SDCP, in that survey, you can see on the back side, which is that image you see in the background, we included a mention of the survey, included the link to it and the QR code for people to scan and take it as well. So that was one avenue that we took to help promote the survey. Where, again, as I mentioned earlier, we're doing a lot of organic social media and asking other organizations to help reshare and promote that survey as well. We're gonna start to run paid social media ads next week. So those are you might see them pop up on your feed at some point, asking people to take the survey. We're gonna be promoting those in particular to our communities of concern. So we're gonna be doing some targeting with those ads, and as well as doing the organic growth throughout the month. We are going to be at a number of tabling events. So earlier in the presentation, you saw that Rachel had provided some of the events that we are going to be at. So we're going to be encouraging people to take the survey there by either scanning the QR code, taking it in person via paper copy, or we have tablets available that people can take as well. So in addition to that, we're doing a number of email campaigns. So we're doing email campaigns or have sent emails to the board. We sent emails to you all. We're going to be engaging with our community-based organizations that have helped us host listening sessions to help promote promote the survey as well. Working with other community-based organizations to help get the word out and promote through that as well. Emails have gone out to chambers, business improvement districts, and other business associations, have gone out to city councils, the county. You kind of get the idea that we're trying to get this as far and wide as possible. And then an exciting new way that we're also promoting this is through the partnership we have with the San Diego Padres. We were able to send an email to all of their subscribers, which is that first image you see there. So that went out to, I forget the number, I apologize, I think it was like 160,000 subscribers, and encouraging them to take the survey as well. And we're going to be including it in a number of newsletters as well. And then lastly, one of the things that we're able to make a quick change on is there's a quick little message in the actual bill itself that mentions the survey. So encourage people to take it. We know it's not the most effective form of communication to customers, but since it was a possibility to do, and we can make a quick turnaround on that, we decided to go with it just in case. Next slide. So a quick update on the listening sessions that we had. We actually had one listening session yesterday with Art Produce in North Park. That was incredibly successful. We had, I want to say it was around 15 people that came out and provided their input and feedback. We encouraged all of them, and I think every single one of them took the survey. So that was a good way to get some responses as well. And they were very excited about what we're doing, and have asked us to send them materials, including that media kit, to them to help promote. So that's another avenue. And then next week, we have partnered with the Chicano Federation to help set up another listening session that we're going to be hosting on Wednesday. So we're looking forward to that. That one's going to be in Spanish with English interpretation. And then some of the tabling events, as you saw earlier in the presentation, we're going to be at the Spring Valley swap meet, hopefully this Sunday, if it's not raining or any other kind of inclement weather. We're going to be at the National City swap meets. We're going to be at the Mexican Independence celebration at Perez Brewhouse. We're going to be celebrating Mexican independence and also encouraging that community to help take the survey as well. We're going to be at the SD Wave matches at Snapdragon. So that's going to be a couple thousand people are going to be at least aware of us and the survey. And the list just goes on and on of the places we're going to be at. So we're going to be a little busy over the next couple of weeks. Even if we go to the next slide. I want to stress that this is not a finite list. So if you know where else we should be at, where we should be tabling, please let us know. We're specifically targeting our communities of concern, and especially the communities in the unincorporated county and national cities, since they did not get that power content label. So we want to make sure that we make a target those areas and have a specific focus to make sure that those communities are heard as well. And so that is a quick update on what we've been doing with the community power plan with regards to the survey. As you can imagine, we've been working busy on the back end, making sure that we're getting all the data properly and analyzing it and and putting together all the summaries and memos and everything related to the other listening sessions that are going to be included as part of an update that we give to the board at their next board meeting on September 22nd. Let me just confirm that date. Yep, September 22nd. So stay tuned for an update on that, including the staff report. We'll be linking out to some of those memos that we're compiling. So we'll have an update there in terms of like what are some of the key findings that we're hearing from the various listening sessions and interviews that we've been doing. So with that, I will turn it back over to you, Vice Chair.
Thank you so much, Nelson. That was a great update. Excited that you guys are heading out to so many events throughout the county. I'll be letting you know some upcoming National City events, so we can have you guys out there too. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, and make sure to include Victoria, because she's been heading our outreach efforts with those as well.
Fabulous. Thank you so much again. That was very thorough. Any questions from the members of the committee before we move to public comment? Okay, thank you so much again. Sebastian, do we have any comments from the public?
Yes, Vice Chair, we have a hand raised by Sonia Robinson. Sonia, I will go ahead and allow you to talk, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Sebastian, and thank you to the chair as well as to the Community Advisory Council. Appreciate all the work that you guys are doing and working in alliance for our San Diego Community Power, which I was a community advocate for with Sebastian many moons ago. So my question is, what are the survey questions? Do they all reflect similarly to what is shown as an example at the one for Petco Park, asking the community of how they think San Diego Community Power should power the community? And when you ask how, is that like what type of energy should be done? Like, so two-part question, right? Is one, the question that is asked that you're asking to elicit. And then also as a follow-up to the question that was shown as an example, when you're asking the how question, if you can kind of just provide what type of responses are you considering that you will elicit from that question.
Thank you, Sonia. I'll take your question as your comment.
Chair, if you would like me to respond, I can, unless you.
Please
Yeah.
Feel free. Thank you, Nelson.
Of course, yeah. So the survey is quite extensive. It takes about 9 minutes to complete. It's the average completion rate that we're seeing. But the survey asks a bunch of questions related to what are the challenges that our communities are facing. So we're not necessarily just digging into how should we do this, but also thinking about what challenges, needs, priorities are communities facing, and what are the types of programs. So I don't want to say specific like program names, more of general like categories of programs that would be most useful or most impactful for our communities. And also asking questions around like what are the best ways to communicate about the programs that we are offering or will be offering, I should say. And also asking questions like general demographic questions so that we can understand our communities a little better as well, and make sure we're getting a representative sample. So it's pretty broad in its coverage when it's what the survey is asking. So it's asking everything from what are the challenges to how can we help, and then what are the best way for us to communicate as well.
Very well. Thank you so much, Nelson. And thank you, Ms. Robinson, for your input and for participating in our meeting today. Okay, let's move on to our standing item, number 8. Any discussions within the committee for any potential items to go before the board of directors for their next meeting? Anybody has any outstanding items that they'd like to present? Going once, going twice. Okay, I guess that leads us to adjournment if there's no outstanding requests.
I wanted to mention two things, if that's okay.
Of course, please.
So we only received 2 applications for the CAC appointments. So for Imperial Beach and an unincorporated national city, if any of you could get the word out and try to get more representatives from our communities to fill out those applications. And I sent out an email so we can reschedule our October and November meetings. A good number of you have already responded, but I need those responses as soon as possible. So if you could just check your emails and I can remind you all one more time today, but that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the update and for the reminders. I really appreciate that. Okay, it looks like we have some member announcements or folks with questions. Anthony, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I did want to make an announcement regarding the CAC commentary about SDG&E. So this is sort of a general announcement. Unfortunately, we didn't have much discussion of SDG&E in today's meeting, so it's not specific. It's just a general observation here. There will often be ongoing private communication between staff of SDCP and SDG&E about normal business matters between organizations. And some of the things that get said in these meetings could be taken out of context by the media or by some public participants. And that can disrupt some of the parallel ongoing work between SDCP and SDG&E. And it can also raise some doubts about the motives of SDCP. So to build and to maintain trust between the two organizations, I wanted to suggest that and ask that our committee kind of minimize commentary about SDG&E unless it relates to business on our agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Committee Member Anthony. I appreciate your perspectives and your input. Go ahead, Mr. Emerson, please.
Yeah, just 2 items. Maybe many of you know about the San Diego, the Fully Charged Live event that's this weekend at the Convention Center. I think they're going to be coming for 2 or 3 years in a row. This is the first year. It's a big activity. I'll be heading there myself. But just FYI, if you guys haven't had a chance to look it up and might want to go and check out, there's all kinds of presentations on electrification and answering all kinds of questions related to energy. And then going back to Sonia's earlier question about, working with social justice and lower income areas, I was just reading about not microgrids, but nanogrids. And I see a lot of people putting the solar on their homes, but they're not putting batteries. Now, batteries do cost more money, but I encourage the use and the promotion of these nanogrids, solar and batteries, because then you can store your excess energy in the battery and use it during the peak time so that your expenses stay low. So I think we should encourage the state to promote those kind of programs and have incentives to help keep the cost down for community members. And that's one way that we can store the energy on a local level and help individuals and their families. That's it.
Very well. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Nelson, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't interrupting any of our other committee members before I go. So I will yield the floor for any other committee members.
Very well. Thank you so much. Any other announcements the members of the committee would like to share? Going once, going twice. Nelson, I believe it's back to you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. I just wanted to quickly make a note to say that the programs team has also doubled in size, and we have 2 new members that have joined us, and you may have seen their names on the panelist list. So we have Ali Skurlock, who joined us as a program associate, and Tessa Tobar, who also joined us as a program associate. So you will be seeing their names and emails coming through in the very near future. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that those two team members are new with us and will be reaching out at various points.
Very exciting. Team keeps growing every meeting. Very fun. Okay. Sebastian, I think that will conclude our meeting. Do we call an adjournment?
That is correct.
Thank
Thanks,
you all so much.
everyone.
I
Nice
appreciate
job,
your
Victor.
patience. Thank you. Take good care, everybody. Gracias.
Great meeting as always.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well run, Aida. Bye.